Thank you, I appreciate it. You're the best. Hi guys, welcome to the video. You're currently seeing me in my Vancouver hotel. We have a hotel for a few days and I thought this would be the perfect time to do a little video on what it's like coming to Vancouver for the first time. Literally like 3 years ago, I was doing the exact same thing. So I want to tell you guys exactly what to expect when you get here, what to be ready for, and can tell you how to save money, and I can tell you the kind of things to look out for and avoid. So most of you have probably already booked your flight to Vancouver. I'm not sure if you've planned exactly when you're coming to Whistler, but what I did was I spent a few days, I think I did a week because I was traveling beforehand, so it was a little different, but I would recommend at least a few days, a few weekdays particularly, before you come to Whistler so that you can get everything organized, like your bank and everything like that. This video is not going to be about getting those sort of things organized. This is just about like little tips and tricks along the way. I'll do a separate video for that one. So if you haven't booked it yet, I would definitely recommend getting your accommodation for Vancouver organized as soon as possible. It will book out the closer it gets, so it's really important to book it early. I personally use booking.com for everything. The longer that you use booking.com, you get really good discounts, and they do provide like free cancellation on some bookings. So if you're like not totally sure but want to book something now, you could always go the free cancellation option rather than the non-refundable. I would definitely recommend having your hotel or hostel booked at least by October. As of this video, I'm filming in October, so I'm trying to get into the mindset of someone that's planning to come over here around like November time. That's what you should be doing in October, definitely getting that kind of stuff organized. If you're with the Working Holiday Club, I think they organize that stuff for you, so don't stress about that. But if you're coming on your own, definitely start booking things. If you're going to Whistler before you get your staff accommodation, again, make sure you plan some accommodation like a hostel. I stayed in Whistler Lodge Hostel, I think, something like that for a few days before I got my staff housing. So again, make sure you organize that definitely in October. Don't leave it till the last minute. So something I should say straight away about Vancouver, especially this time of year, it is really rainy. It is really gloomy and rainy, so don't expect to come in and it's like snowing and beautiful. Vancouver rains all the time, especially during October and November, so you don't have to worry about getting like really like all your winter stuff organized before you come. Definitely do not worry about that. The worst it is going to be like a lot of rain, so just make sure you either bring a good rain jacket or you get ready to buy a good rain jacket when you get to Vancouver, or alternatively you can just buy an umbrella. But I recommend like getting a good rain jacket, and you can use that as your like mid layer in winter or spring or whatever afterwards, so you still will use it once you're finished in Vancouver. Expect some rain, expect some gloomy weather. It's still really beautiful, and like it's fall, so you know all the trees are beautiful and everything's beautiful, but do expect the gloom. And then another major thing to note about Vancouver, like I'm sorry, I thought I would love Vancouver coming over here because that's where Supernatural was filmed, but to be honest, I really don't like Vancouver. I think it's really expensive. Out of everywhere that I've traveled in North America, Vancouver is the most expensive by far. Even the hostels are really expensive. It's not even like you can go further out of town and it's like suddenly a lot cheaper. It's still really expensive over there as well. So just be prepared that it is an expensive place, and that's why I'm going to give you some tips about how to save money while you're here, because I don't want you coming to Vancouver and then just wasting all your money before you even get to Whistler. That's really important. And a note that I wanted to touch on is like, do not come to Vancouver and spend all your money drinking and partying and buying lots of random stuff. Vancouver is about getting yourself organized, getting your first taste of Canada, and then heading to Whistler. Do not waste all your money. That is really important. Waste all your money when you're in Whistler having fun. I do find Vancouver really expensive. Even just like coming back here for the end of our trip, I was kind of dreading it because I know that the hotel's expensive, like the food's expensive, everything is expensive, and it's just like a killer on the bank account for literally no reason. So definitely budget in to be spending like a certain amount of money in Vancouver. And then people do say that Whistler is expensive too, which it is. Like cost of living is very high compared to other places in the world, but honestly Vancouver and Whistler are kind of like on par for prices for groceries and that kind of thing. When you start shopping for groceries in Vancouver, just start to think like, okay, these are the prices that I'm probably going to face in Whistler, so that you can start getting an idea of like how much you need a budget for your groceries, depending on like how much you like to eat and or what kind of food that you like to eat. I wouldn't recommend particularly like stocking up on everything while you're in Vancouver before you come to Whistler. I don't think that's hugely important. I don't think you're going to save that much money. If you do manage to get to a Walmart, that's when I would try and buy like all your toiletries and that kind of thing for your house. Again, it's not going to be the end of the world if you don't manage to get it in Vancouver. Something that I recommend is like Squamish, which is like 45 minutes out of Whistler. If you can get there on like a day trip there, buy a bunch of stuff there. But I recommend waiting until you've already come to Whistler, see what you need, see how your house is, how your housemates are. You know, they might have already bought a bunch of stuff, so like don't go overboard straight away. You can just buy it as you go, or you can organize a day trip at some point. Another thing that comes up a lot is buying clothes. When I first came to Vancouver, I was thinking like, oh yeah, I'll buy like all my winter stuff there. However, I personally wouldn't recommend that, especially if you're working for the mountain. So if you're working for Whistler Blackcomb, you will get discount on Whistler Blackcomb retail stores in Whistler. So we do have a lot of retail stores, and we have a lot of good stuff actually. So we have everything you need in terms of like winter gear, like jackets, pants, even like normal lifestyle clothes, and then obviously like snowboards, helmets, goggles, all that kind of stuff you can buy in Whistler. And again, if you work for the mountain, you get like a 40% off discount. There might be other discounts if you work for other places. I'm not really sure about those places. Do not buy anything in Vancouver unless you really need something urgently, and you're like, you know that you really love, I don't know, say you see a jacket that you really love and you really want it, like sure, go for it. But what I find is once you get to Whistler and you like see all the cool stuff they have, and they keep bringing out stuff through the season too, so then you end up buying more and more. So yeah, don't worry too much if you don't see anything you like in Vancouver. You can wait till you enter Whistler. That is no problem at all. And then another thing that I didn't really know much about was the weather. So like I said, have I already said this? I don't know, but I'll go over it again. I didn't know what to expect for the temperature over here. I didn't really look into it that much. But like I said, in Vancouver, it's very rainy. It'll be cold, but not super cold. So you don't need to stress too much about getting like gloves and a beanie and that kind of thing straight away. I ended up buying those things once I was already in Whistler, when it got like a little colder. So for reference, right now it's like, you know, 12-ish degrees in Vancouver. Once you get to Whistler, sometime in November is when it starts to get like down to 0, but it kind of like depends on the weather and the day and that kind of thing. At that point is when you'll start, you know, going, okay, I'll buy some gloves. Like you can get those from like any store. And then a beanie, you could get, I got mine from Reuse It, which is an op shop in Whistler. So like basically like $1 or something. You don't need to go like and spend lots and lots of money on those like simple little things, just as long as you get them at some point. And again, they're not hard to come by. They'll be in like every retail store in Whistler. So you probably won't need your gloves. The day that you need it, you can go buy it. Don't stress too much. And then as the season goes on, that's when you'll see like when it starts to get really cold is when you need to start thinking about, do I need to buy some thermals and that kind of thing. But honestly, I mean, I say this after 3 seasons, but like Whistler doesn't get like super cold. Like we have, generally it's like -10, around like 0 to -15. We do get some times where it's like really cold, like -20 and colder up on the mountain, but that's like rare. It doesn't happen like every single day. Whereas like in places like Alberta, they get like -30 all the time. So over there, if you're going over there, yes, you need lots of stuff, but in Whistler, it's not so bad. You can get it when you need it. Don't go overboard buying like every type of thermal and every type of like balaclava and everything that you need and then never use it. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I would recommend. Something I'm going to touch on now rather than later, because I feel it's important, because I sort of experienced it yesterday and I realized again how kind of shocking it is to see. So I think it's better if I mention this at the start of the video. I will preface, like, I don't know much about this topic, and this is in no way like me sharing my opinion on any of this. This is just me sharing like what you might see and encounter, but again, I don't know much about the issue. It's not something that I've looked into, but it's, to be honest, I haven't really thought much about it until I got back here, and I had to realize that it's gotten even worse than when I first saw. Vancouver has like a big homeless problem. I don't know if you call it a problem, but like there are a lot of homeless people. Basically from Gastown in downtown Vancouver, there is a street, East Hastings, that way for like quite a long part. I don't know, a couple of kilometers. I don't know the exact distance. That whole area has a lot of homeless people. I'm assuming they're homeless. I caught the bus yesterday. I'm actually on East Hastings, but further down, and I caught the bus in yesterday, and basically what I saw is like a lot of the businesses are like closed and caged up. The streets are filled with people. There's, to put it straight, there's people doing drugs on the street. There's people like passed out on the street. There's people clearly on drugs walking around. There was ambulances, there was police, there was a lot going on, and it's very confronting if you haven't ever seen anything like that before, or if you're not really used to it. It's extremely confronting, even for someone like me who's like, I've been to multiple cities in North America now. I've seen a lot of homeless people. I've seen a lot of people on drugs on the streets. But to be honest, this is the worst that I've ever seen. So just a heads up that be very careful, avoid that area. And then obviously it's not just that area, all through downtown Vancouver, maybe even further, I don't really know. There are like a lot of homeless people on the streets. And like I said, there are people doing drugs on the streets. So just please be really careful. I'm not saying that they would do anything. I think most of them, like, you know, they're not aggressive or anything like that, but still it is quite confronting to see. What I've read online is why right now? Better to just not interact. That's sad that that's what it's come to, but I think it's safer for you, especially if you're a young girl coming here alone. If you can, try and find some friends or someone that is also coming over so that you can kind of link up with people. I think it's a little safer to be like, just in general, not because of this, but just in general, it's safer to be with other people. Stick to the very busy parts, like stay in downtown if you can. I would not recommend staying out of downtown like any further than like 10 minutes out of downtown. I wouldn't recommend it. You'll just be too far out and you don't really know the area, and it'll probably be like less built up than the city. So I would recommend staying in the city. I wouldn't recommend going out too much after dark on your own, just in general. Like, it's a good rule of thumb. Just stay inside, or if you are going out, again, stay on the, you'll see in Vancouver there's some streets that are like really, really busy. Like, stay on those streets if you can. Just be prepared for what you're going to see, and I'll leave it at that because I don't want to say anything that I shouldn't. For me yesterday, seeing what I saw, it was very, very intense and confronting. So that's honestly why I wanted to make this video, because I'm like, oh my god, there's people coming here that's like super, super excited to leave Australia and come to Canada. I feel like people have these amazing ideas of Vancouver and like coming to Canada, which again, it is amazing, but I just want you to be ready to be confronted by what you might see in downtown. Ignore him. I'm just gonna go. I'm not even that. It is what it is. A little bit of background noise. In terms of transport, like I said, I wouldn't recommend staying too far out, like Burnaby, Surrey, that kind of thing. Just stay a little closer. That's just easier if you're just staying a few days. Like, it is what it is. Better to just be closer downtown anyway, because you'll be busy going to the bank and going to Service Canada and that kind of thing anyway. So I would recommend just staying in downtown Vancouver. Like I said, be prepared for the cost. If you are in downtown, it's very easy to walk around to most places. If you are a little further out, or if you need to go somewhere a little further, I would try and avoid Ubers if you can, just because it's very expensive. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the price of Uber has just like gone up so much. Like, just a 10-minute drive is like $20 or $30 Canadian Uber. It's like, my gosh. Then they want a tip. I'm like, oh my god. Try and just catch a bus when you can. I think it's like $3 a ride. If you're coming into the airport and then you're going to downtown, make sure you catch the SkyTrain. Don't get an Uber, don't get a taxi or anything like that. There's a train that takes you from the airport all the way to downtown. It's called Waterfront Station. It's very easy to look up, very easy to do. So if you haven't heard of that or haven't worked out how you're getting from the airport, SkyTrain is the way to go. From Vancouver to Whistler, there are bus services that you can take. So there's Skylinks, Epic Rides, something else probably. Just Google Vancouver to Whistler. They either go from the airport or go from downtown. Like I said, make sure that you plan to spend a few days in Vancouver to get everything organized, and you're going to catch a bus to Whistler. The prices vary. Make sure you start having a look early. If you can book it early, I would recommend that, just so that you don't lose a seat. Make sure you give yourself enough time to get to the place in downtown, whether you need to catch a Uber or bus to that place, and then go from there. Start looking up the times, dates, and cost for that early. Probably October would be better if you already kind of have a rough idea of when you're going to Whistler. You can take your luggage on there, everything's fine. Again, if you need to like read through the website, but it's very easy to do. Yay, the truck's gone. Okay, that's that. I don't know what I'm saying. Some things to do. This is a very small list. This is kind of a shitty list. I'm sure you could look up your own what to do in Vancouver. But if you want to have some fun and at times right, you could check out the ice hockey. The ice hockey is really, really fun. If you kind of search around on Ticketmaster, you can find some cheaper tickets. Like if you go at the back. Personally, I find for the hockey, even if you sit at the back, it's still like awesome. The atmosphere is really awesome. So I personally recommend trying to go like in the middle back so that you can see both sides. You're probably paying from like $70 to $100 each, depending on the game, depending on the tickets and the seats. But it's really, really cool. So definitely I would recommend going to the ice hockey if you have time or if it works out. And then another classic, you got to go to Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is like the classic Canadian kind of coffee shop. However, it's not owned by Canadians. It's not Canadian owned anymore, and like there's like kind of a stigma of like you never get the right order, or it's never good when you go there. So I'm not saying like it's an amazing place, especially coming from Australia coffee to here, but I feel like you have to try it because of the switch. So something I should mention about Tim Hortons, I think it's really cheap actually. The prices are really good. Like I said, you might not get what you ordered, but it is what it is. Prices are pretty good. They have an app, so make sure you go on the app and like see if you can get a deal, and then you can do mobile order. If you go to a really busy Timmy's, just do a mobile order and you'll have your order in like 1 minute. That's my little tip. If you know you're going to Tim's in like 10 minutes, like just order it on the app. It's way, way easier. So in Canada, they do drip coffee. Well, they just call it coffee, but I would say like drip coffee, as in like kind of like from the urn. It's hard to explain. You'll see. We don't really do it much in Australia because it's disgusting, but it's really, really cheap. So if you're looking for like a really cheap coffee, like you're a coffee addict and you need coffee every day, but you can't afford it, definitely just get like a standard coffee at Timmy's or Macca's or wherever, really anywhere will have it, and it will generally be like $2 or something. If you're paying any more than $2 for a drip coffee, just don't. Usually do cream or milk, or they have half and half, which is basically like a creamer. Something that I've found here is like I have so much more milk and cream and sugar in my coffee than I used to. In Australia I would never, but the coffee here is like so trash, like you have to. So I generally put a Splenda. If I have a drip coffee, I have a Splenda in there, and like that just takes the bitter disgustingness away. So definitely like I would recommend getting a Splenda. If you're normally like a full cream latte kind of person, you can get what they call a double. So that's just like a coffee with double milk, double sugar, but it's like a classic. So yeah, if you want cheap coffee, that's what I would recommend. If you're a person that drinks like a nice coffee every day from a cafe, and now you come into Canada and you want to keep that habit up, I would suggest to not do that, because number one, you're going to spend a lot of money because the prices are crazy and you got to tip as well. And also the coffee is just so trash. Like I couldn't tell you, there's a few places in Whistler that I can recommend, but generally any cafe you go to is going to be like way, way worse coffee than, maybe not way worse, but definitely worse coffee than Australia. So you're going to be paying like $7 for a shit coffee. So I would kind of give up on that, or just find a place that you really like. For instance, I get the cold brew at Tim's with creamer because I know that it's going to be good and it's not going to be shit. I would never get like a milky coffee from Tim's. That's disgusting. Like it's all automatic. So yeah, just be prepared for that. Even if you go to a place that looks really, really cool, generally speaking, it's not going to be as good. I don't really have much else for things to do. There's like the typical like Gastown, like I said. It's like a touristy area, but kind of gross. And then there's Stanley Park where you can walk around, and I wrote Granite Island. No, Granville Island, I think it is. I'll put it on the screen anyway. I don't know, you can Google that and find things to do. Honestly, just focus on enjoying the moment and just getting what you need done and just chilling. Now to my advice about like saving money. I think this is like really, really important. So listen to me here. If you haven't listened so far, listen now. So speaking of like doing things, definitely, other than not hockey, I told you to go to hockey. But other than that, I would try and recommend just doing like free activities. Definitely don't be like, oh, things to do in Vancouver, and go like waste hundreds of dollars on like doing an activity or something like that. Just go for walks, go get a coffee, go get a bagel, like things like that, little cheap or free activities. Just do that. Don't worry too much about making the most of Vancouver. Like, trust me, you'll be making the most of it in Whistler. Just use this time as getting settled and getting used to it and getting rid of your jet lag. And then once you get to Whistler, that's when you're going to have fun. So that's really important. Like I said earlier, I'm going to reiterate it. Don't waste your money here. Don't be going out for nice dinners. Like, don't be buying $7 coffees. Like, it's just not worth it. And I know so many people that have just like wasted their money in Vancouver. It's going to be a long winter. It's like a 6-month winter where you're going to be going out every day. You're going to be riding every day. You're going to be doing so much fun stuff. That's when your money is like really, really going to matter. That's when the really fun things are going to happen. And that's when you'll need the money. So just try not to spend money. Try and live on the cheap side. Trust me, it's like, if that's not something that you normally do, start thinking about that now. Personally, me and Stefan, like we choose where we want to spend our money. We live cheaply some days so that we can spend money other days. Like, we go to music festivals that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. We can only do that because we live cheap the rest of the time. So make sure you just like decide where you want to spend your money. And then speaking of the cost of things, if you don't know much about it, there's tipping in Canada. So basically in America, right, in the United States of America, USA, not Canada, you have to tip a lot of the time. So for, say, servers get paid like $2 an hour before tips. So you basically have to tip, right? And that's how they afford to live. I don't agree with the system. I think the system is stupid, but it is what it is. You need to tip your waitress. And then you can tip other things like Ubers, etc. And again, a lot of those people rely heavily on those tips to be able to make like minimum wage. However, in Canada, a lot of the time, these people are already making minimum wage and then tips is on top of it. I can't speak to every restaurant or every server because everywhere is like slightly different. In terms of cafes and that kind of thing, people are making a decent wage. So, but however, you will be asked to tip almost anywhere that you go in terms of like hospitality. So like I said, going for a coffee, going for food, going for drinks, whatever, all of them will ask you for a tip, other than like some franchises like Tim Hortons don't ask for a tip. I don't know why. The general rule of thumb is that if you're getting table service, as in you've sat down, you've taken an order with someone and then they've brought you the food or drink to the table, that is considered table service that you should tip generally like 18% minimum. Anything other than that, it's up to you whether you want to tip. And the tip option will come on the screen. So first it'll say, do you want to add a tip generally? And you can say yes or no. If you say yes, it'll say, do you want to tip percentage or amount? So if you tip percent, it'll just come up with like 10, 15, 20, whatever, depending on where you are. And you can do like that, or you can do amount. So say you bought something for $10 and you want to tip $1, you could just tip $1 and that would end up being 10% if you just want to tip an amount. There are no rules for that. It's up to your own discretion. It is I will say it is super hard and super confusing. I am at a point where, I was at a point where I was tipping constantly, and then now I've kind of gone the other end and I'm like not tipping that much, especially during the trip where it's a place that I'm never going to go again. It wasn't that good service or food anyway. I haven't tipped, which has been really hard to go back to that. And like, part of me does feel bad. But honestly, don't feel bad. The thing is too, if you're going somewhere for the first time and you're paying for something, you don't know how long that's going to, for instance, a coffee, you don't know how long the coffee is going to take. You don't know how it's going to taste. It's okay if you don't tip. Maybe if you're coming back multiple times and you know it's going to be really good. For instance, when you're in Whistler and you have a cafe that you go to all the time, then I will recommend, you can give a tip because you know the coffee's going to be really good and you really like the service there or whatever. Then it's a little easier. It's a lot easier to tip when you pay for something after the service rather than before, it's a little confusing. Again, table service, generally you're going to tip 18%. It's just, you don't have to, but it's generally the rule that you will tip for table service. And then for someone making a drink, generally you're going to tip someone making a drink as well. I don't know why servers and bartenders are just like get all the money and no one else does. I have no idea. Doesn't make any sense to me. Like, personally, I'm a back of house girly. Like, I make all the food, I do all the hard work, they just take it out and they get all the money. I don't know why, but it is what it is. I did get tips for my job, so I'm grateful for tips and like I appreciate it, but it's a very interesting system. So when you are buying something, you're going to take into account the tip, then you're also going to take into account the tax. Canada doesn't put the tax on the price, so they add it on afterwards. So say you're buying something on Uber Eats or something like that, or you're buying food, like I just said, it might cost like $9 before tax, and then it's like $1 of tax, and then like $2 of tip. I'll give an actual example. So let's say you're buying a latte from somewhere for a 12 ounce, say it's $5, right? So you're gonna get a 12 ounce latte, but then you want oat milk, so there's another $1, so now it's $6. Then they're gonna include tax, which might be like 50 cents, I don't know, so now it's $6.50. Then you're adding a tip as well. If you're gonna tip, it might be like $1, so now your coffee's $7.50. So you can see how quickly it adds up, especially for higher price items. Keep that in mind. Say you're buying a jacket that's $200, the tax is not put on that yet, so it's more. I don't know how much the tax is, you can Google it, but always know that it's more expensive than it says. It doesn't make huge differences when you're buying. I mean, you're going to pay for it no matter what, but those little things do add up, so just be mindful. Especially tipping. Say you're going to dinner and you're like, oh yeah, I can spend $25 on like a pasta, whatever it is, right? You're like, okay, I'm happy to spend $25. You're not actually going to be paying $25. You're going to be paying way more because you're also tipping, because you're getting table service, right? And you don't have a choice. So now that meal is like $30 something, and you're like, okay, did you have that much money to spend or not? So just be very, very careful. Take that into consideration. It's easy for me to do now because I'm just so used to it, but yeah, definitely keep that in mind. Sorry, that was a long one, but I think worth explaining properly. So if you're staying at a hostel or a hotel, really anywhere, keep an eye out if they include free breakfast. I always try and find a hotel or hostel that has free breakfast because I feel like it helps with the cost of things. So if you go on booking.com, you can filter to have free breakfast as well, or they'll have it like in the description. Try and find somewhere that has free breakfast, just so that you can get your first meal of the day in for free. You can load up on food, then hopefully like avoid lunch, then you're just paying for dinner. It does make a huge difference to the amount of money you're spending, because obviously when you're living in a hotel for a few days, like you don't have any groceries, so you end up eating takeout every day, and like I said, with the tipping and the tax, suddenly you're spending like $80 a day on food. So try and find free breakfast if you can. Load up on that. Breakfasts are really good, even if it's just like a bagel and coffee. Like, there you go, that's something in your stomach ready to go. Were they even looking at you then? Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Hostels specifically, they generally have like a communal kitchen, so you can take that into consideration if you do want to just like buy some groceries or like something easy to cook, and make use of that kitchen, because like that's what it's there for. Everyone used to some cheap things like, you know, noodles or stir fry, I don't know, just think of really easy quick meals, and then you can make it there rather than buying takeout. Especially if you're staying like a week or something and you don't want to eat takeout every day, make use of the communal kitchen. It's a good way to meet people as well. It's really nice. Another thing I recommend, and something that I do myself, is just keeping an eye out for deals. There's, you know, a lot of the time some restaurants will have some sort of deals on. I would try and avoid paying full price for something. Say you want to go somewhere for dinner or lunch or whatever, make sure you Google first, see if there's any coupons going, see if they have any weekday deals. Usually most places have deals on certain days of the week, or coupons like pizza, there's always coupons or deals. Never pay full price. Make sure you have a look around first. It's going to be a really good way to save money. Like I said, you can get the app, or if you sign up for something for the first time, generally they give you something for free. So definitely make use of that. It really, really adds up. And then it's kind of fun too. So I don't know, I just really like saving money. I just would never want to pay full price for something. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. And then something that I just discovered recently is an app called Too Good To Go. So it's basically an app where businesses can sell their like leftover food for a lot cheaper. So a lot of them are like pizza. I've tried the pizza twice. It's kind of like hit or miss. Basically in Canada they serve single slices a lot of the time. So then if it's been sitting there too long, they'll like put them into the fridge, and then you can buy it's called like a surprise bag, and they'll give you like 8 slices for really cheap. It's totally food safe. Like I said, they'll leave it in the fridge, or I'm sure other places have their own systems of how they keep it food safe. It's just the quality obviously is worse because it's been sitting there, or if it's day old or whatever it is. So don't be expecting like fine dining level quality. The quality is bad, but if you're trying to save money, it makes a huge difference. So get the app and you can see on the map, and then it might time right that you can get some cheap food. Cheap food is always a win. Like I said, groceries are really expensive no matter where you go generally. Something that I do recommend is Dollarama. If you go to Dollarama, it's like a $1 store. They have like cheap chips and chocolate bars and biscuits, and not like healthy food, but if you want like some snacks for really, really cheap, that's where to go for cheap snacks and chocolate bars and that kind of thing. Make sure you go there, because you'll see, especially if you're doing the Australian to Canada conversion, it's like worse, right? So if you buy a chocolate bar for $3, that's like $4 or whatever. $4 for a chocolate bar, that's ridiculous. So make sure you definitely go to Dollarama if you want that. A lot of grocery stores do the discounted food if it's about to expire or whatever. Look out for that kind of thing. If saving money is important to you, I would follow the things I've just told you. If you don't care about money that much, sure, do whatever you want. In the grand scheme of things, it's not make or break. But if you are coming over here as a young person, moving out for the first time, and you have your savings now, but I will tell you right now, your savings deplete very, very quickly. You have a certain amount of money, but then you're going to buy all your winter gear. I don't know what else, but you'll spend your money very quickly. And if you can save it by doing these little things and be able to use it on things that you actually care about later in the season, or when you want to go on holiday after winter, or if you want to like go heli skiing or whatever it may be, this is when those things are going to be really, really important. Try and follow my advice if you can. I think that's it. That was a long video. If you have any other questions about Vancouver or arriving, or like how long you should stay, or like literally anything else, I'm here. Just comment, or you can Instagram me. Happy to help, especially if it's personal and you just need some like personal advice. I can definitely help with that. That's no problem at all. I also have my ebook out now, so it's linked in the description. I wrote an ebook on basically everything you need to know for getting your working holiday visa and coming to Whistler for the first time. I am going to extend it and have more information coming soon, I'm hoping. However, right now it's just like a very good starter guide. So if you have anyone that is thinking about a working holiday and doesn't know anything at all, my working holiday guide is like the perfect place to find all the information you need in one go. I spent so long searching so many sites, Facebook, everywhere, working out all this stuff on my own. And if I had just like one guide that could have given me all the answers, I would have 100% bought it. So if you are interested for yourself or interested for someone else, please check it out in the description. All the information will be there. I really appreciate you. Get really excited for coming to Vancouver, even though I just kind of shit talked you the whole time. But I promise you it's going to be really, really fun, especially once you get to Whistler. Hopefully all this information helps. I will see you in the next one. Bye.